welcome to Week 14 in the NFL. Big Play Tailgate with Chuck Booms, Bob Golick. I'm Tony Zarella. Steelers week, and we're coming off some historic performances out in Denver. We'll break it all down. Mike Vrabel, Bill Belichick, what's up with him, and other news around the NFL, and Cavaliers, of course, putting a thumping on the Denver Nuggets after they put a thumping on the Celtics. So what a phenomenal start for the Cavaliers it has been. Bob Golick, does it feel like Steelers week to you?
No.
Why not?
Because I'm not putting on my uniform. That always made it feel like Steelers.
Even if you were having a year like this? Well, you didn't have a year like this when you were here.
I did when I played for the Patriots, who were 2-14 one year.
Right, but it wouldn't be Steelers week in New England. They wouldn't.
I mean, in fact, it was your hometown, wasn't it? When I played for
it was yes,
Boston?
and I remember you well. And but it wouldn't be Steelers week there. It'd be Dolphins week maybe. But the point is,
we were usually fighting for something. I mean, when you played against the Steelers, you were usually fighting for something, and that made it more important. I mean, there was a rivalry. There's no doubt about it. You like to go up against them and beat them to make them feel like, we're the best out there. But, we were talking before about the fact that does this make up for a crappy season? And I got to believe the answer is no. Right now, most of the guys out there's a lot of people that know that they have a job next year. But there's a lot of people out there who are trying to perform enough to either get signed again by the Browns, be kept by the Browns, or playing the kind of football that gets you traded to somebody else. One of the two. I mean, it's all right now. It's. I don't believe it's about team. You have to have like a goal, a team goal, for it to really be about the team. And I don't think that when you're outside of the I guess when you're outside of the playoffs, it's difficult to find something for everybody to grab onto.
Wait, hold it. 3-9 were outside of the playoffs? I didn't know that.
Not if you listen to some shows around town. They can run the table.
Hold on a minute. If these four teams all lose 20 in a row, and then this one gets in a plane wreck and kills that whole team, we get in.
We could run the table.
Oh, man.
The only thing that I think they should be playing for is pride, respect, and dignity, because a lot of those three qualities have been washed away with how obstinate, because that should be the key word, the front office has been with a team that was so fun and exciting last year. It's really borderline criminal what they have done to the Browns fans. And to hear a legend like Bob Golick say it doesn't feel like Steeler week, and I understand because Bob's thinking of putting on the pads and seeing that black and yellow, and you just want to kill him. But this is the damage, I think, Bob and Tony, that their decision-making for the first 6-7 games has inflicted not only on the fan base, but on a Browns legend who nobody would want to talk more Steelers, Browns, than Bob. But if he can't get up for it, we have to then examine what the hell happened. Well, they happened. They did this to us, and every Browns fan out there should resent the front office and the ownership for allowing this crap to happen.
And don't get me wrong. I mean, I want them to be. I want the Browns to be a spoiler. I want the Browns to go out there and see what kind of talent we have and see it's consistent. I mean, it's amazing to watch Jameis Winston throw 497 yards, and then throws two pick sixes in a game, almost three.
They added up all his yards from the 2 pick sixes and all that. He also broke an NFL record by throwing for over 600 and some yards to both teams. At least he was spreading the love around.
Yes, Bob, you make a great point, because they're coming off what was a historic performance, at least in terms of the team, for Jameis Winston. But, even Troy Aikman said it during the broadcast. This is
then it must be true.
No, but this is a harsh reminder. We've been saying this for weeks. It's a harsh reminder of how different things could have been if not for the arrogance of certain people upstairs in Berea.
Correct.
Because
it wasn't
they sat
an injury.
Kevin Stefanski with this guy who can't play, and you let the season go down the drain.
Yeah, and they've been doing it for a couple of years now. This year, more telling than any of them, the fact that everybody knew that it was time to take Deshaun out. And I don't think. I mean, I got a 2.5-year-old grandson who said, "Daddy, Grandpa, Deshaun, out, right? I said, I'm sorry, but Santa Claus will be here soon, so it'll be good. But,
I would have told your grandson, with all due respect, it's Seacrest out. And then,
Seacrest
that's
out.
his
Two
thing.
and two.
It's hard. So that's where they are. And as you say, they're 3-9 now.
I mean, it was always nice to be able to be a spoiler.
Well,
And of course
I'd rather be a contender. And
But-
by the way, what if, this is what no one's talked about, and I wish there was a way to find the answer. What if he hadn't torn his Achilles? How many more weeks were they going to make poor Stefanski walk out and say, I still think he gives us the best chance to win?
you want to know the answer?
I'm afraid.
You want it? We're in week 14. The answer is he'd still be playing.
Oh, my God.
And that's why I understand they can't or they don't want to. Let me rephrase. They don't want to take a devastating cap hit that they put in place by doing this god-awful historic deal.
$73 million.
Next year it's
but they don't, to move them out of here. I get it, but that's why you're hearing, they're feeding their people in the media to talk about how he's going to come back next year, and you can't do
Does
it.
Szymanski drink?
Well, if he doesn't, you know the answer to that.
Yeah, okay.
So that's where we are, though. And for anybody that says, well, if we beat the Steelers twice in 1 year, it's solace. Would take solace to that. No, raise the bar. Raise
How about
the
if the
bar,
Browns beat the Steelers?
That would be enough for you.
I just thought of it. If the Browns beat the Steelers twice in this terrible year, does that make up for Ryan Day not being able to beat an unranked Michigan team that Lake Catholic could have beat, for Christ's sake? Nice job, Ryan, 4 in a row.
We'll get to Ryan Day.
Just to close on this.
Yeah, please.
'Cause you mentioned it again. If you beat the Steelers twice, does it make up for the season? And we've all pretty much answered no. The reason that it was such a good rivalry and that the reason that we loved beating them twice in a season is because usually we were battling neck and neck all the way through, trying to get to the playoffs. Hey, they got to lose to the Bengals. We got to beat the Ravens. There's a battle going on, and there's emotion attached to it. Right now, you're talking about a Browns team that isn't going to win anything, and you don't know who's going to come to the game, who's not going to come to the game, who's going to play hard, who's going to half-ass
And you know
it.
what, Bob? And you were there, and a big part of it. And even when with these two franchises, they own the 70s, and you own the 80s, and then in the 90s, they come back again, okay, and they go to the Super Bowl under Cowher. All of that stuff, you had longer windows of time of success, whereas now it feels like last year was a fluke, and it shouldn't be looked at that way. They screwed it up. It didn't have to be this way.
No, and the Brown-Steelers thing, in closing, I just realized this when I was listening to Bob talk, that if you do beat the Steelers twice in 1 year, and I mean this sincerely, then you ought to really be pissed about what they did at the beginning of the year, because that means that you were good enough to beat the team that's probably going to win the division, and you're going to beat them twice. And so all the schlubs like the New York Giants and all these other teams that beat us, because of Deshaun Watson, it could have been a hugely successful year. So that's what it tells me. It doesn't go, oh, gee, I feel better because of that. I feel worse. What if we go at the end of the year and beat the Ravens the last game of the year, and then you beat them twice too? Then you should really be pissed off because they took that chunk of those Watson games that Tony's been telling everybody since this show started. When are you going to get him out? Well, he only got out because he tore his Achilles. So if they win some of these bigger games and show that with a competent quarterback, and Jameis ain't exactly, Joe Namath, but we would have been right there with everybody else at the end of the year. They literally did it to us and to themselves.
We got to take a break, but I'm going to look this up. Bob, you may know the answer to this. I believe Joe Namath, great quarterback, Super Bowl III, Hall of Famer. I believe he had more interceptions than touchdowns in his career, so maybe he is Joe Namath. But we'll be back right after this. Jameis Winston is just so likable, and he can give you what he gave you on Monday night. I mean, he's not going to give you $497 every week. By the way, quick pop quiz. Before he threw for $497, who had the Browns single-game record for passing?
Deshaun Watson?
No.
Can I give Bob a lifeline?
I was hoping we'd give him something.
Are you
hoping we can
He
give him
didn't
something.
even do that in Houston, I don't think.
Random stat.
Baker Mayfield.
You're not that far off, but
Is
go
it
ahead, Ryan?
Mr. Josh McCown?
Yes, sir. I knew Ryan would.
You know, that was my second guess. I was going to go with Spurgeon win.
And then I think number 3 is Brian Sipe. I believe so. But anyway, Baker's in the list. If you could do the top 10 or whatever, Baker had a big game.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to it here. So Jameis is going to give you that.
Yeah.
Okay, he can light it up. You go back to that year where he had the 30 touchdowns, 30 interceptions, that kind of thing. 2 pick sixes in a game.
That year he had 33 touchdowns and 30 picks. Do you know that he threw for over 5,000 yards? I mean, it's like unbelievable. And they keep saying, well, you know, we think we can coach that out of him. He's been that way from the beginning. That's who he is.
Yeah.
And to think now that we're so literally damaged, I think mentally and emotionally by the Browns front office, that we're already saying, let's get that guy to come back next year. It's like, yes, the game was fun, but you lost. I believe it's more fun to win.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't get it. This is how damaged we are from watching Deshaun Watson. You know,
It seems like we're always picking somebody that to show that, boy, if they could only play to the level they played in Texas with the Texans. Oh boy, if he could play like he did at Florida State, this would be great. You know, we're always anticipating them going back and finding some talent and some ability from the old days.
Brady Quinn could have only played like he did at Notre Dame. That would have been a good pick.
Well, don't ask him
wasn't.
about Notre Dame. He's a little biased. Is it not fair to say, though, if you rally for Joe Flacco, if you're going to make the argument he should have stayed, then Jameis is he's kind of like Joe Flacco in the sense that Flacco is going to throw the interceptions too, even though he's going to throw for 350.
There's one slight difference between him and Joe. Joe has a Super Bowl ring. So
Okay, Joe was surrounded by talent.
And
in Baltimore.
Flacco got
most
us into
most
playoffs.
Super Bowl teams have talent. I love when they do that.
Flacco
When they
got
go,
us
"Oh,
in-
he had
okay.
a lot of talent."
Well, he did.
Who won
You
a
know-
Super Bowl with
Okay,
garbage?
Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl.
He didn't have garbage. He had a ton of talent around him.
That's what I'm saying. So, I mean, in fairness to Jameis, however, you could make the argument that, those quarterbacks, even going back to Favre, that are going to make the big interception, they throw the big interception, but they're
Yes.
going to come back at the end and make the play to win. Now, Jameis doesn't play defense. Put a lot of numbers up against Denver, but he threw the 2 pick sixes, and obviously those are killers.
The Browns have given up on defense more big plays. I heard a stat the other day that's unconscionable, that it's not the 10 to 20 yard plays. It's not the 20 to 30 yard plays. They're giving up 40 yard, 50 yard, 60 yard. And we've been watching these games, and the guy catches a ball, and you go, I don't see anybody in an orange helmet around.
What does it say
So
that
I don't know what they're doing.
Jerry Jeudy, who he was relishing every boo that came out of the stands at Mile High Stadium. What does it say?
235, didn't he have?
Right. What does it say that he's invisible
Yeah.
until Jameis gets in there? It was almost like Amari Cooper with Flacco.
That's exactly what. No. That's a good point. It's the reason we lost Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper said, "Are you going to keep doing this with that bum? Because if you are, I want to leave." That's what it was. And so the other receivers felt that way. And Amari's sitting there going, I got out just in time.
and now,
But
go
here's,
ahead, Bob.
here's what happens. When you're backup quarterback, you're the 2 quarterback, the 3 quarterback, you have different favorite targets. You're working with different guys at practice sometimes until they move you up to the starting gig. So you kind of get a rapport with some of the other guys. And
Like
feel
Watson did with the safeties on the other teams.
Exactly.
I got it. Yeah, I understand.
But so that's why when you see a new quarterback come in, a lot of times you start seeing a new receiver getting a lot of balls.
No, it's a great point. I was going to say
It's
you
a
beat me
great
to
point.
it. Well, who was Deshaun's favorite target?
The safety on the other team.
Under
He
that theory.
picked him out every week.
Yeah. So here we are. So I want Jameis back. I like the Jameis experience.
I like
really
him.
do.
He's kind of an impossible guy not
You
to
can't
like.
dislike him.
He's
I
a
mean,
lot of fun. For a guy who goes into a presser and asks the Lord to deliver him from interceptions, I don't remember that passage in the Bible. I'll go back and do a reread, but that was, that was beautiful. He's impossible not to like. But again, it is a Flacco thing, and I think people should recognize that.
Yeah.
When Flacco came last year, you couldn't help but see Myles Garrett, and all these guys
everybody.
light up and go, the locker room's right above, and then they purposely destroy the Flacco thing because we have to have Watson. And now we have a second Flacco. Now we have Jameis locker room. Even though the record sucks and they pissed away the whole season with Watson, the guys are finding a way to rally. I am not going to be surprised if they come out and play with their hair on fire, the Browns, in Pittsburgh, knowing that they have a chance to wreck it, you
they
said.
They like the guy. I mean, they like Jameis. They believe in him. The difference between Flacco and Jameis is obviously Flacco got us to the playoffs and was winning games and got people excited about it. Jameis, I think people were just more like, boy, do we have a chance at winning? The problem is going into next season. I think I'm with you, Tony. I think we keep Jameis around. He's a good guy to have. But then what do you do? Do we draft? Do we free agent? I mean, it's the same old question all the time.
Want to know something that would be hysterically funny? And it's probably the only thing that Barry could do if he announced it ahead of time to save his job. He ought to say, I'm bringing Flacco back and Jameis. And that's going to be the quarterback battle, and then we're going to look into the draft. Bring the two guys back that we enjoyed. They're both competent.
And I don't care what anybody thinks. That's what Barry would say. And I don't care what anybody thinks. Yeah. Well, no, obviously he does. Yeah. Or Flacco would have been gone.
And I think you owe it to the coach, who we talked about this last week, has talked with his buddies around the league, saying, I wouldn't mind getting out of here and salvaging my career.
Did you hear the new one?
So
he was asking one of the guys, they were talking about, if you're the Bears, you need to call up the Niners and try to trade for Kyle Shanahan. And then it was reported through one of the bigger Albert Breer guys, Ryan, or one of those guys, that a certain coach in the AFC North said, can you get him to call up and get me?
Yeah.
That's got to be him again.
Not surprised. We're going to talk Kevin Stefanski, Mike Vrabel. You mentioned the Buckeyes. A lot going on here on the tailgate. Stick around. Back here on the tailgate, Bob Golick, who's blowing your phone up?
I don't know. I don't know how to turn off the vibration thing.
That's the loudest vibration. Yeah, I mean, it's.
Let us know.
We can verify Bob turned the thing off or put it on silent, but it's still.
Here, let me put it somewhere else.
Okay. There you go.
All right, Bobby.
What if it's Publishers Clearinghouse and he's going to miss out on that giant check at the door?
You get to week 14 in the NFL, and clearly a lot of names are being thrown out there about this job and this job and this job. And, of course, we always keep a half eye on Mike Vrabel, because not only what's going on in Columbus and who they can't beat, but also what's going on here if Stefanski could orchestrate an exit. So Vrabel is on the Jets' radar, which is a job he would want if he could approve the new GM that they're going to hire. That's the kind of power you need. That's how you avoid the situation like the one Kevin's in here.
And you know why they want Vrabel? Because he can come in and say to Aaron Rodgers, take care. I didn't sign up.
I don't know
for
who
this.
would want that situation, by the way.
Because Rodgers is saying he wants to come back and play next year.
Right. I actually heard somebody say, well, what if you brought Aaron Rodgers here?
Oh,
Right. Oh, please, come on. Who would want any part of that? Anything to do with it. By the way, there's a Netflix doc out on him now for a guy who hates the spotlight. Now he's got a whole documentary out there about him.
Vrabel?
No, Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers.
Well, anyway, Mike Vrabel. If you're Mike Vrabel, you could go any place. Where would you want to go? Any place. We'll create the opening, whatever it is.
Right. Well, if you're going just on talent and you could have control, it'd be harder to argue against the Bears job. The problem there is
over the Buckeye job.
Yeah, the NFL and the college thing is two different things. Although, as soon as I kept saying how much more valuable it is, Bob, to coach in the NFL, the greatest coach of all time goes, maybe I'll coach the Tar Heels.
North Carolina. We'll talk about Belichick in a second. But I think if you're Vrabel and you could take the Buckeye job and be there for 20 years and you're going to be in contention every year for the national title and you get, by the way, a lot of money. It's not like 30 years ago.
My buddy Gary Berry, shout out to him in Missouri, Springfield, Missouri, great UPS driver. We have a book we want to write called about the coaches that, like, what's his name at Iowa?
Kirk Ferentz is always in the running.
Is never leaving Iowa. You know why?
8 wins.
He has 10 huge houses all over. He makes more money. If he gets to stay as long as he wants. It's the guy like Chris Peterson that owned Boise and goes, I think I'll go to Washington and climb the ladder, and then it all falls out. So the reason I bring that up, if you could be Vrabel and go there and do it for 20 years, my answer is unequivocally yes.
An Ohio State gig for Vrabel works out good because he's still a young enough guy. Remember when Johnny Robinson had the Rams? And then he said, I'm going to go back and I'm going to coach college. And he goes back and he...
SC? Did he go back to SC?
Yeah. And it was a night... Oh, no, excuse me. It was the other way around. He was at SC. Then he goes into the NFL to coach the Rams, and nobody listened to him. I mean, he had the rapport to talk to the college kids. But when it got to the pros, they just said... shut up, Johnny.
It's a different game. I think Vrabel, though, is because of his track record as a player and the rings. And
I think he fits in nice. Yeah.
I think he could do the NFL. They're going to listen to him. College, they're going to listen to him. By the way, speaking of coaches and Belichick, Bill Belichick's 72 years old. He's talking to, as Chuck said,
dating a 25-year-old.
Talking to North Carolina. He wants to coach. Why is he not on an NFL team's radar? Do you think? Maybe I'm assuming if he's talking to North Carolina, why?
I don't know. It's at 72. He probably most teams are probably looking at maybe a 5-year deal would take him into 75. Get up there, and maybe he just isn't ready. Maybe they're not ready to make that kind of commitment. His health, everything is kind of at question.
How about he's been dating the 25-year-old and he's thinking to himself,
pretty healthy.
He's dating the 25-year-old and he's getting bored and he's going, I can go younger than this. So if I'm at UNC's got smoking hot cheerleaders, maybe he's making that move.
Well, that could be one of the reasons that he is dating the 25-year-old. Probably one of the reasons that NFL coaches or teams don't want him, because that could kill you.
Well, if that's the case, then how could he not be tailor-made for the Cowboys? Belichick, you got the cowgirls down there.
Yeah, I'm back to football.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I just think like maybe teams just don't want to relinquish complete control to a guy who's going to be in his mid-70s when it really starts working.
Does that have anything to do with the fact that once Tom Brady left, things changed?
No, it's 1 year.
Yeah.
No, it's 1 year.
Well,
I'll tell you the weird rumor that
people act like Brady would have won all those Super Bowls without Belichick. That doesn't. I mean, I'm not pointing at you.
Oh, no.
Yes, I am, but I don't mean to. I'm not blaming you.
No, I know. I didn't. I had nothing to do with
that.
So the owner of the Patriots
like
supposedly
Ron Rust was coaching the Patriots.
So the owner,
very good.
the owner of the Patriots is supposedly at these little NFL forays saying, you can have Bill, but he's real difficult to work with. So kind of doing the last employer saying,
if I'm Bill, I hold up my rings and say, that's right. I'm really so's Brady.
But you
he's
can
tough
understand
to play with unless you want to win.
And the Patriots stink now without Belichick. So the owner is saying, you don't want anything to do with it, because the worst thing for Kraft is he goes back to the Browns and the Browns win the Super Bowl and they go, you idiot, you let Belichick walk. So that's what I think. Here's a name that I just thought of, because this whole thing is about how could you not call Belichick? He's so successful. Can somebody ever explain to me, I've never brought this up ever on a show, how could Brian Billick never have gotten another phone call and another job in the NFL when that Raven team and how he coached it was exceptional? Yeah. Now, I heard he's an a-hole, but so what? So was Vince Lombardi. I would like to have him coach my team. Yeah. And so why would a guy like that never get another look?
Well, I don't know. Are you assuming that he never got a phone call and he didn't?
He talks about it on the radio. He goes, yeah. He always says, my phone never rings.
I know from NFL coaches that he's considered somewhat of a self-promoter.
But you would self-promote. He had one of the best Super Bowl teams of all time. Mm-hmm. He built it. He built it. He coached it. Every one of those legends, from Reed to Ray Lewis and all those guys, or even Dilfer and all those guys on offense, all say he was one of the best head coaches ever, offensively, defensively, and all that stuff. so many times we're sitting here with Chudzinski. Nobody could call Brian Billick. I don't get it.
Yeah, it's egos. There's a lot of egos involved. All right. Speaking of egos, you weren't here last week. You were on assignment, as I said.
You were on assignment,
and I lost at Header Behind.
To a guy, to
nobody?
To our guest out in Denver.
Our guest from Denver.
I'm
a guy beat him on Zoom.
That's right. But I'm making a comeback when the tailgate rolls.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Bob Golick, I'm coming for you. It is time for...
That's not fair to start that way. Really? He's coming for you, Bob. It's week 14. Look out. He's been storing all of it up. It's time for the game show Sweeping the Nation. That's right, boys and girls. From San Diego, California, all the way to Kennebunkport, Maine, and from Seattle, Washington, down to Key West, where I'll be meeting up with former Kansas Jayhawk legend and current Denver Nugget hottie Christian Braun, where he vows to teach me how to really rock chalk his Jayhawk. It's time for a header behind.
All right, what do we got? Okay.
I thought Ryan's under the desk right now, just so you know.
Fire it up.
We have, in honor of Snowmageddon hitting here, has it stopped ever since Thanksgiving?
You live on
Bob,
the east side.
You got a lot in Solon, didn't you?
We got a lot last night. Yeah.
And so did Euclid. That's why I was telling him I can't even get out of the driveway. Well, we have the top 22 snowiest states in the United States, snowiest states. Well, I would have had this one up at the top, but it's dead in the middle at number 11. Minnesota is in the middle, the land of 10,000 lakes. Minnesota in the middle. Here we go. Tony Zarella.
Are you stretched? Are you ready?
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Tony Zarella, here we go.
I'm ready.
Not only is it a beautiful place to live, it's famous for Heath Ledger and Jake Gyllenhaal smacking tongues up on the mountain.
Where's Montana?
Is Montana
I can't quit you.
I can't quit you. Is Montana ahead or behind? Brokeback Mountain.
That was Brokeback Mountain.
Yeah.
I'm icing you.
It won't fluster me.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, you went to. I like that move, Bob. Yeah.
Just gonna do a warm-up kick. I'm good.
Montana ahead or behind Minnesota?
I'm gonna say Montana is ahead.
They are in good-looking actors that make out, but they're behind in Snowfall. Sorry.
How does Jake Gyllenhaal do that movie and then do the remake of Roadhouse?
How would you like to do that movie, Make Out with Jake Gyllenhaal? By the way, they both were quoted as saying the other one was a fantastic kisser. Heath Ledger goes from that and becomes the Joker in Batman.
Well, Gyllenhaal has had a fine career.
He was Spider-Man.
But
Wasn't he?
No.
No.
That's
Wasn't
Tobey
Jake?
Maguire.
Tobey Maguire was.
You don't remake Roadhouse. It's so bad that it's good.
Yeah.
You got to leave it.
Oh, yeah, I forgot
so
they
bad.
did that. That's a bad move. That's a bad move.
Swayze was so good in the first
next
one.
thing-
Sam Elliott.
Yeah.
Oh.
Wait till they announce that Jake Gyllenhaal's going to redo Ghost.
And by
All
the way,
right, here we go.
They should take the guy, the gray-haired guy.
Sam Elliott?
Sam Elliott.
Oh, great. Yeah,
They do those commercials with Gronk.
The insurance commercial, yeah.
The insurance commercials, and it's like, dude, do not cut your hair. Leave it where it is, or you just look like a dweeb.
Everything Sam Elliott
Ryan, give Bob a buzzer for taking up time in the middle of the header behind with Sam Elliott. That's at least it. We could.
Montana I should have got because it's a trick question.
Okay, really fast.
All right, so here we go. This is, by the way, according to USA Today, so this is a factual list. The top 22 snowiest states. And Minnesota is right in the middle of the list, Bob, at number 11. If you've ever had your corn husker 20 inches deep in snow, you know how painful that can be. Is Nebraska ahead or behind Minnesota?
Behind.
Well, that's a ding.
I'm messing up my states. But
Wait,
Bob,
no.
I apologize.
No. There's no instant replay here.
I apologize,
No,
Bob.
there's
You
no
get a
replay
ding. You get a ding.
That's a ding.
I'm just a pawn in the game of life.
This should be like the Bottlegate game. I mean, this is ridiculous. We already moved on.
Listen, I'm down for throwing anything right now.
Fire it up, Bob.
All
1-0.
right, here we go. It's
Let's see the
1-0,
score.
Bob Golick. Tony, back over to you.
I'm ready.
According to USAtoday.com, top 22 snowiest states in the union, Minnesota, surprisingly right in the middle at number 11, is Alaska, Tony. Ahead or behind of Minnesota? Now, a little help here. Alaska, as Kamala Harris would say, is way, way up there and north and cold. Think Fairbanks. Think Pipeline.
Catch a can.
All right. Well,
Or catch a cold.
Sitka.
There was a vice presidential candidate that said she could see Russia from her porch. So if you're going to bash one side, bash the other.
That's true. She could.
I'm
The
gonna
lovely
say,
Sarah Palin.
I'm going to say Alaska is ahead.
I basically gave that one, Bob.
Yeah, you sure did.
All right.
Boy,
So-
didn't you like the Sarah Palin, the one they had her in a bikini with a gun? That was like a great poster.
I thought she was
I have it on my
definitely
wall.
a smoke show, and Tina Fey did a great.
Ryan, I'm not opposed to
Tina Fey was the
when we
one
veer
that
off
said,
the tracks a little bit,
Yeah.
but
Tina Fey was the one.
let me know when
that
Larry
played
Flynn
her.
starts sponsoring the show because you guys.
What happened to Larry? He was wheelchair bound. Hustler took a dive. All right, here we go. Top 22 snowiest states in the United States, according to USA.com. Bob, I gave him an easy one. Let me roll one down your way.
Okay.
All the wonderful people in Fargo. How about North Dakota? Right on the border, for God's sakes. North Dakota, ahead or behind?
Before you answer, don't forget it's right next to Minnesota. So what is good for one is good for the other.
I'm gonna go behind.
What?
Well, figure. Thank you for that.
I
Hey,
talked you out of
thank you
it.
for the hint, man. That was great.
I'm here to help.
I didn't know where you were going on your head fake, but I thought I got him with it's there on the Canadian border. I thought I was going to get him for you. Now he's into tricking him into the right answer so he loses.
Double reverse psychology.
I can't. Okay.
All right, here we go. Tony,
All right.
you need this to tie.
I'm ready.
Top 22 snowiest states, according to USA Today. Right in the middle of the list is Minnesota at 11. For God's sakes, the people who brought you the Utah Hockey Club, without giving it a real nickname like the Yeti. Yeti like to roam around in those beautiful
Oh, yes,
mountains
they
of Utah, ahead or behind.
Easy one. I had.
What do you think?
I can't even look at Ryan anymore because he's just I know he's laughing. I just can't look at him. Bob, this is for the win. I've hardly said that this year except every week.
Okay.
All right, here
I'm
it
getting
goes.
used to it. Thank you.
Give him the one I know you're going to give him. Just give it to him.
All right.
I know it.
How about this one, Bob? And remember what he said about Minnesota. They're right in the middle of the list at number 11. Dun, 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 dun. We can beat Ohio State because their coach sucks some. Is Michigan ahead or behind Minnesota?
They are ahead.
For the win.
I can't believe it.
Where was-
I was trying to trick him there. I
know,
thought sure
I
he'd
know.
go behind.
What's number one?
Number one is, Bob, what's your guess? Snowiest state. I would never have guessed
New
this.
York State.
Nope.
North Dakota.
We already found out that was behind Minnesota, Tony. Number one with 89.25 inches. That's only 6 inches more than John Holmes. That's Vermont. Vermont.
Not surprised.
You're not?
No.
I'm very surprised. Vermont, number one. Maine.
Yeah, you're going to hit New England. here. Go
Maine
ahead.
at 77 inches. New Hampshire, 71.
That's 3.
Colorado, I was
Yeah.
going to give you that.
That's what I thought. You get
That was
him.
coming next. 67.
I got me.
Alaska, 64.
Mm-hmm.
Michigan, 60. New York State, Robert, 55, the nice showing. Massachusetts, Tone, nice showing, 51. People don't think of that because Boston doesn't get that much snow, but they're on the ocean. Wyoming, 51 inches, and number 10 is Wisconsin,
Where's
the
Ohio?
Cheeseheads. Ohio was last in this list at 22.
22.
Let me tell
22.
you.
Pennsylvania was 19.
Tony, let
Yes,
me
sir.
explain this to you. Anybody else who might play this. There is the fact that you have a bunch of states like Minnesota and North Dakota. They're not surrounded by anything except other flat land. When you look to Michigan, Michigan's all surrounded by lakes. And what happens when we start, as we found out the last couple of nights?
Lake effect.
Lake effect snow. And
they
same
get double
thing.
lake effect. They have Lake Superior, I
Yep.
think, at the top. Plus,
And then for New Orleans, the New England area, you also got a lot of stuff from Ontario pushing right across.
Thanks, Al Roker.
and
You're
and,
welcome.
And we'll be right back with Bob's 5-Day right after this.
All right, can I do it like a news anchor, Bob? Well, Bob, those kids are going to have to bundle up this week.
That's right. Thank goodness it's Saturday. You'll be able to go outside and play Mr. Snowman. Go build yourself a Frosty. Because when you come back on Monday, you're talking about 45 degrees because there's a low front or a high front or a low back
Front.
that's going to come right through.
Hey, well done, sir. Thanks,
Yeah.
Bob.
Everybody duck. Here comes a high front.
Oh, my God. All right, let's do some.
Hit it. It's time for Chucky's 8-day forecast and keys to the game. I thought Bob was going
All
to
right,
work
here we
in the
go.
bus stop
I
forecast.
always
for the
get
kids.
wow when I see a double-digit spread in the NFL because, Bob, as you know, being a 3-time Pro Bowler, these are NFL players that we're talking about. And when you're favored by 13.5, it just makes me wonder. I mean, what an insult. I don't care what team you're on. Carolina going into Philly with 13.5 points. Are the Eagles the best team in football right now? Some think they are.
Are you asking me or are you telling me?
I'm asking you. If
Yeah.
you take the Eagles giving
I'm-
2 touchdowns?
You know what? I'm not going with the Eagles. I'm going to go with Carolina.
You
I
like the
think-
13.5.
I like the 13.5. I think that
I'll give Christian Braun your number. Let's see. I'm gonna go. No, they stink. The difference now is Philly's defense is on a roll. Eagles will cover the 13.5. I'll take the Eagles. They're not the best team. Detroit is, but if Detroit's coach doesn't stop with the 4th and inches, kick the damn ball, idiot, or I'll bite your kneecap.
We'll get to them.
All right.
But I'm taking, this old adage, never bet on the team that can't win the game, no matter what the spread is. They can't win the game. I'm taking the Eagles,
Yeah, I
giving
like
the
that.
13.5.
that's just a magical
Yeah.
bit of trivia there.
Yeah.
It really is. But really, I just think the Eagles right now, the way they're playing,
Yes.
you could take Chiefs,
The only
Bills.
thing you'd favor them
Right,
is that
Lions,
it would be
Eagles.
Eagles at Ford Field at the Dome to play
Yeah, that
Detroit
would
to go
help.
to the Super Bowl. But if he pulls this crap he did last night and got away with it,
Yeah.
Eagles will win.
Chucky Booms,
Yes.
your boy, hosting the Raiders in Tampa Bay. You're giving them 6.5.
6.5 to the Raiders. Bob, I hate to do this to your silver and black.
Okay,
But
it's okay.
Baker led a miraculous comeback last week with only 19 seconds left, got him into field goal range to tie it, and then led the drive to win it, keeping the Bucs very much in the playoff hunt. They are not going to lose to the Raiders at the Big Pirate Ship, but think of that. Raiders, Buccaneers, and the Pirate Ship. Sounds like something magical and movie-like could pop out. I'm going with Baker.
I'm going to go with Baker too. I know I used to be a Raider. It's a great uniform, and it goes.
Fantastic.
The colors go with anything.
Yes.
In fact,
You sound like my mother picking the office pool in the March Madness. She
Right.
goes with the sound of the
I could
team.
probably
Yeah.
wear. I could be wearing my Raider jersey underneath my coat.
Yeah.
But I just right now they've got questions about the coach. There's questions, maybe not publicly, but there's questions being asked behind the scenes. and they're just trying to find something to click.
I think they're trying to lose because they're going to try to get Sanders and the #1 pick for his kid. That's what I think the Raiders
I
are
don't
up
think
to.
people try to lose, but I think that
You sounded like Joe Namath there. You turned publicly into a 4-syllable word. Publicly.
publicly.
Ryan, what do you think?
I'll go with the Raiders in this one.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm taking
Anti-Baker.
Baker.
All right.
Whenever I hear obtuse, I think of Shawshank. Am I being obtuse?
Hope is a dangerous thing.
Bills at Rams. Rams getting 3.5.
Did you pick the Bucs?
Yeah, I took the Bucks.
Okay.
Bills at Rams.
Bills at Rams.
Yeah, they torture Stafford. They really do. The Bills do.
Yeah, this is interesting to me. And the Rams are only getting 6.5. Is that what
3.5.
3? Oh, wow. I just have a weird feeling. I'm going to take the Rams. I don't know why. The high off of playing in their snow globe game, he was all world everything. You got to go to the West Coast. SoFi is a funky place to play. Stafford could get on a roll. Bob, I'm just going to, probably not the right pick, but my gut's telling me Rams. We'll see how I do with that.
Yeah, I'm going to go against you.
I don't blame you.
I don't know. Buffalo, as much as I hated Buffalo back when I played, right now they seem to be, from the snowy part of the country, they seem to be a breath of fresh air.
Ryan?
Bills. Rams can't score 30 points in a game. That's what they're going to have to do.
Great point. I'm with you.
Yeah.
Give it the Bills.
I have 2 words for Ryan. Puka Natua.
Bless you.
Close.
Thank you.
Browns
Anyone
and
have a hanky?
Steelers. Steelers giving 6.5, Bob, to your Browns.
I feel like I'm required by law, by policy, to pick the Browns.
They're not going to take the blazer back.
If I ever,
It's Andrew Barry on line 5, Bob. He says go with the Browns.
if I ever hope to get any kind of a job with the Browns,
Yeah.
Clearly you do.
I'm going to have to say I think the Browns have the talent to do this. They beat them once. They just have to find a way to focus. And I'm taking the
Yeah.
Browns.
I know you are.
I was trying to explain it, but it's
While the
unexplainable.
Browns are trying to focus, T.J. Watt is going to be inside of Jameis Winston's shirt. And so I think that the Steeler defense will be the difference in this. I got no credit, Ryan. Remember when I went out on a limb and said the Browns could beat the Broncos? That was a better game than I thought. This one, the Steelers know there's a lot on the line. I'll take Pittsburgh.
Right.
I will take the Browns to cover, but Steelers win.
Oh, all right.
Interesting.
I got the Steelers giving 6.5. It's usually a close game, right? But I think they're going to cover. All
I'm
right.
always so lonely.
Bob,
when-
last one, real quick. Lions or Packers?
Lions.
All right. Good call.
Yeah.
Because they won by 3, even though they went for it.
I just
5
enjoy it.
times on
5
4th down.
times.
And
This
they were
seems to be a thing.
successful on 4 of them.
He
We
starts
gotta
to
take a break.
remind you of
I
the
know.
arrogant crap where you know it's the wrong thing and he does it anyway.
I know.
And I can't watch it.
We'll talk about it and the Pro Football Hall of Fame finalists when the tailgate rolls on. Before we get to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, right in our backyard, spectacular venue, and it just keeps getting bigger and better.
Yeah.
Canton. I want to ask you something. It surprises me that you don't like what Dan Campbell is doing on 4th down, even though I think you better be prepared if you want the Lions to win the Super Bowl, that he's going to do this in the NFC Championship game or the Super Bowl if they make it. They're going to have a chance to go up by maybe 6. He's going to go for everything. Maybe they get it, maybe they don't. I would think you would love this.
No, not. I like to win. I don't mind.
He's winning.
Interesting. I got it. But when you go for it on your own 30 and don't get it, like happened with the Niners, then in 2 plays they punch in 7. That's what happened last year. And I wanted the Lions to get to the Super Bowl last year. I just don't want. Sometimes it's gutsy. Sometimes it makes sense. Several times last night, I think you would both admit, it was foolish. It was absolutely
At the end of the
foolish.
game, though, Bob, at the end of the game, he wants to take
43 seconds left.
Right. He wants to take, it would have been a 38-yard field goal. He wants to really take the clock down to 0.
Right.
So 4th and 1, he goes for it. They get it. And then they kick a 35-yarder. After they lose a couple of yards, they win. So it works out. He doesn't want to give the ball back to
Right.
the Packers. It
Yeah,
works out.
Because we see a lot of quarterbacks take big advantage of something like that.
As a player,
As a
would you be upset?
no, but from the outside looking in, you gotta believe that when you get to you win or you're out when you get to the playoffs.
Yes, I mean, it's a tie game.
What becomes does 4th and 1 become something to go for, or do you sit back on it a little bit?
This is the most maddening thing. I told Tony this morning on the phone. Chuck Nolan, Don Shula always said, especially in playoff games and Super Bowls, when you got a chance to get points, take points. The analytics idiots say, well, 7's more than 3. Woo! I know that. But 3 is more than 0, which they never tell you at the other end.
There.
Can I quote you?
Yes.
Yeah, but
Ryan, you
do
like
the
it?
clapping when you quote. Yeah.
Yes and no. I mean, if I could find it disrespectful if I'm the defense, especially if I'm put in that position where it's win or go home. I would be a little upset. But listen, he's the head coach and he's been successful, so I can't complain.
It's working. I mean, it's what I get it. It's going to be maddening. It's what gets you there. All right. Pro Football Hall of Fame, they have a few categories like coaches or contributors. With the coaches, Mike Holmgren has become a finalist for next summer. So Mike Holmgren has 1 Super Bowl ring with the Packers, okay? Took Seattle there. They lost.
Well, they got cheated against Pittsburgh.
Okay, whatever. Mike Shanahan has 2. I covered him in Denver. He didn't make the cut. Marty doesn't have any, but
But still, he's Marty.
Is Mike Holmgren, in your opinion, worthy?
Ahead or behind?
I mean, just
Ahead or behind?
I thought it was coming. It was a great setup. You just named the other guys, and you turned above. Is Mike Holmgren ahead or behind Mike Shanahan?
Is the $40 million Mike Holmgren took from the Browns to stay in Seattle
based mostly on what Mike Holmgren did for the Browns?
Yeah.
No.
Because that. No, that's right.
That's right.
I already heard.
That's a detraction.
I'm gonna break some news here. I already been told that he is getting in, and that his special section in the Hall of Fame is great. You can't visit it till noon.
And don't ask him for tickets.
Because that's when Mike showed up for work every day at the crack of noon.
Well, when he was here,
Yeah,
I mean, he really
that's what
kept the
I'm
house
saying.
out.
So now to go see his thing, you can't go till noon. It's not open.
Whatever names you put out there, we were talking before, and if Clay Matthews isn't in there, then everything else is not real.
It took Gradishar so long because nobody saw him back then in
Randy
the 70s.
Gradishar
Well, you're not
was
a former Buckeye, right? But nobody saw him with the Broncos in the Orange Crush in the
Orange
70s.
Crush,
They didn't were on television. So, what do you think it is with Clay?
I don't know. I think they need to push. See, sadly, Hall of Fame should be about, oh my God, this guy is so good.
Yes.
That we've got to put him into the Hall of Fame. These days, and I'm not going to name names, but you see guys going into the Hall of Fame, you need a different thing. You need the Hall of the Very Good. Because there are a lot of very good players going into the Hall of Fame and keeping out guys who deserve to be in the Hall of Fame.
I'm going to give you a name. Give me a one-word answer for 20. He's on. We'll see if he makes the final list here, but Eli Manning. Yes or no?
100%. God,
Yes?
this is one of the dumbest questions I've ever heard. I just
What?
got in an argument about this. I didn't know this was going to come up. Make this show go longer. He is a 2-time Super Bowl champ and 2-time Super Bowl MVP.
Okay.
And he beat your Patriots, who were undefeated.
Right.
He beat them twice.
He didn't. The defense
best
did.
coach. He beat the
It
best
took a
coach in
Velcro
football.
catch, okay? It took a Velcro
I don't
catch.
give a damn if he did it with a frying pan. Of course he's in.
Okay.
They talk. Dan Marino's in. He went to 1 Super Bowl and never went back.
Because it went because of him.
And lost.
It doesn't
He's
matter.
a 2-time
The
champion.
defense beat Tom Brady.
Oh, come
Whatever.
on.
It's a legit question.
Then how is he? No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
I just shouted a friend of mine off the phone about this. I thought my head was
He's
going
going
to
to get in, Chuck. Don't worry about
All
it.
right. Well, he's got it.
We're running out of time here. One-word answer. Yeah, I know you can't do it, but one-word answer. Adam Vinatieri.
Cute. I don't know. What do you want from me? A
Yes.
kicker?
Yes.
A kicker.
Is there a better clutch kicker in the history of the league than Adam Vinatieri?
Garo Yepremian.
I like
well, he was
Garrow.
fairly
I love.
clutch.
So there's only one kicker in, right? Jan Stenerud.
Correct.
Is that it? He's the only one. I actually would make the argument for Vinatieri because his kick to win the Super Bowl was.
But the kick in the
was-
blizzard against the Raiders.
Yeah,
Right?
the kick in the blizzard.
I mean, you guys keep doing the whole, you won a Super Bowl. You won. You know what? There's more than one freaking person out there.
I know, but
And
you got
and
20
I guess
seconds.
It's like, coaches, I understand. You put together a Super Bowl team,
18
that's fine.
seconds.
When you're talking about a quarterback,
17 seconds.
you know, it's not
All
fair.
right, no Vinatieri. I'm against it. I want Russell Erxleben.
Thank
I feel
God
like
you are
I'm
just
counting
definitive
down
on
like
that.
the guy.
And I like
we
Gary
gotta go.
Yepremian.
I'm counting down like the guy on the hockey rink in Rocky 1 when he's on the ice. 7 minutes. We gotta go.
I'll
Thanks for
never get
watching.
over you and Bob playing ahead or behind with yourself. Go Browns.